They called him the richest man who ever lived. But John D. Rockefeller wasn't born with wealth. He was forged. Forged in the crucible of poverty, sharpened by the grind of necessity, and driven by a relentless belief, not just in oil, not just in markets, but in himself. He understood something most men die never learning. That wealth is not money. It's a mindset, a dominion of thought. An empire built first in the mind, long before it rises in the world. Because while the world was chasing wages, Rockefeller was crafting strategy. While others worked for survival, he cultivated vision, like a general planning a war that hadn't yet begun. He saw the invisible pipelines before there were pipes, power before there was permission, order in the chaos of crude. He saw what others missed. And that's where you begin. Not with money, not with contacts, not with luck. You begin with perception, with the eyes to see what's truly rare in this world. Opportunity wrapped in adversity, riches disguised as ruin. The man who sees clearly in a fog of confusion has already won half the battle, because clarity is wealth, belief is capital, conviction is compound interest on your soul. And if you want to build indestructible wealth, not just the kind that sits in accounts, but the kind that echoes across generations, you must begin by burning your old maps. The maps that say play it safe, the ones that whisper, wait your turn, the ones drawn by men too afraid to live boldly, too small to think grandly, too blind to see the oil under their own feet. Rip them up. And draw your own, because wealth is not found. It's created, and creation begins in silence. It begins when the world doubts you. It begins when you're working late, when your bank account is empty, when your name means nothing, yet you keep moving, not because of what is, but because of what will be. That was Rockefeller's edge. He didn't wait for the world to grant him permission. He built his world and let others catch up. But that kind of fire, it doesn't come cheap. It demands everything. Focus that cuts like a blade, discipline that doesn't flinch, and belief, deep, unshakable, unreasonable belief. Because before, he dominated oil. He dominated himself. He mastered his moods, his habits, his thoughts. He understood what every great titan knows, that before you can control markets, you must control your mind. And that's where most people fail. They chase secrets and systems, mentors and miracles, but skip the foundation. They want Rockefeller's bank balance without his backbone. They want the castle, but won't dig the moat. They want the light, but won't stand in the fire. But wealth isn't handed out. It's summoned. It's forged in late nights, tough calls, brutal setbacks, and the unrelenting decision to keep building, even when the world says stop. Henry Ford once said, thinking is the hardest work there is, which is probably the reason why so few engage in it. But you came here to think differently, to build what they said was impossible, to lead in the way only giants do, not by shouting, but by outlasting. Because building indestructible wealth means playing the long game. It means understanding that the seeds you plant today will not bloom tomorrow, but you plant anyway, because your faith isn't based on the calendar. It's rooted in cause and effect. Like James Allen wrote in As a Man Thinketh, you are today where your thoughts have brought you. You will be tomorrow where your thoughts take you. So where are your thoughts taking you? Do they build or break? Do they elevate or erode? Are they a fortress or are they a cage? Because every empire begins with a blueprint of thought. And thought, when repeated with intensity and belief, becomes reality. This is not just philosophy. It is mechanics. It is the internal machinery of men like Carnegie, Morgan, and Hill. They didn't stumble into wealth. They engineered it. And that engine runs on clarity, clear vision, clear values, clear standards. you must become ruthless with confusion, allergic to vagueness, hostile to mediocrity, because mediocrity is the cancer of the mind. It doesn't show up with horns. It whispers in comfort. It shows up when you compromise, when you say good enough. But good enough builds nothing. It sustains nothing. It survives. It doesn't thrive. You want to build a legacy? You want to create wealth that cannot be stolen, taxed, or inflated away? Then start with your mind. Discipline it like an athlete. Train it like a soldier. Expand it like a kingdom. Because wealth, true wealth, is not just the accumulation of capital. It is the expansion of capacity, the capacity to think when others panic, to endure when others quit, to plan when others react. And that's what Rockefeller did better than anyone. He didn't just build a company. He built a system. He didn't just play the game. He redefined the board. And you must do the same. The world doesn't need more followers. It needs visionaries, builders, leaders with steel in their spine and fire in their chest. You must lead your life like a general leads a war, with strategy, with foresight, with relentless will, because life is not a playground. It's a battlefield. And the enemy is comfort. The enemy is hesitation. The enemy is the version of you that settles, that sleeps in, that waits for the right time. There is no right time. There is only time. And what you do with it determines everything. So build with urgency. Move with conviction. Decide like a king, not a beggar, because the throne you seek is not out there. It's within you. And every day you hesitate, someone else is building their empire, while you doubt yours. Enough. No more waiting. No more wishing. No more playing small. Burn the blueprint of the average man. And rise. Rise like the titans of old. Like Carnegie in the steel mills of Pittsburgh. Like Ford on the factory floors of Detroit. Like Rockefeller in the refineries of Cleveland. Where fire, oil, and ambition danced together like God's rewriting fate. These men weren't just businessmen. They were builders of destiny. And they built from one material above all others: discipline. Discipline is the silent architect behind every empire. It doesn't shout. It doesn't seek applause. It shows up when it's hard. It wakes you before the world stirs. It keeps you moving when there's no reward in sight. While others scroll, discipline reads. While others binge, discipline builds. While others wish, discipline works. Rockefeller didn't become history's wealthiest man because he found the right industry. He became that man because he outdisciplined the world. He tracked every cent, every deal, every risk. His ledgers weren't just financial. They were spiritual. Every entry said, "I am in control." Every calculation screamed, "I am not a victim of chance. I am a master of law, the law of cause and effect." And that's what you must understand. Wealth is not luck. It is not inheritance. It is not born of circumstance. It is a law. And like gravity, it favors those who align with it. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you must become. Without it, your potential remains fiction. With it, you become inevitable. It's the daily sharpening of the sword, the cold shower of truth, the refusal to negotiate with your lesser self, because you will be tested. Your dreams will be attacked by doubt. Your resolve will be hunted by fear. Your mission will be mocked by those too timid to chase their own. And when that happens, you must remember this. The lion does not concern himself with the opinions of sheep. Rockefeller didn't fold under pressure. He absorbed it. He used it. Every setback became strategy. Every criticism became fuel. He understood what the masses didn't. Pressure is the price of greatness. It breaks the weak, but it refines the strong. So welcome it. Invite discomfort. Seek the edges of your endurance. Because it is only in fire that steel is made. And you must be steel. To build indestructible wealth. You must become indestructible yourself. In mindset, in belief, in character. Your wealth will never outgrow you. Your income will never outscale your discipline. Your empire will never surpass your endurance. So build yourself like a fortress. Read when others sleep. Act when others talk. Lead when others follow. Because this world is not given to the soft. It is seized by the relentless. The Rockefellers of the world don't ask for permission. They move like storms. They change industries, rewrite laws, break monopolies, and build their own. They are not employees of the system. They own the system. And when the system changes, they adapt before it even finishes turning. That is the next truth of wealth. Adaptability. Ability to shift without fear. To evolve without losing your core. To stay grounded while everything around you burns. When others panicked in downturns, Rockefeller expanded. When the government tried to break Standard Oil, he had already diversified. He saw moves 3 decades ahead. You must do the same. You must become a strategist of your own life. Not just working in it, but working on it. Not just surviving the now, but engineering the future. Every day is a move on the board. Every dollar a soldier. Every action a command. Are you leading your army with precision? Or are you watching? From the sidelines, waiting for fortune to smile? Let me make it clear. Fortune doesn't smile. It tests. It pushes. And it waits to see who will bend and who will rise. Warren Buffett once said, "Be fearful when others are greedy and greedy." When others are fearful, this isn't about emotion. It's about strategy. It's about emotional mastery, not letting the winds of the world sway your internal compass. Because the game of wealth is 90% psychology, 10% math. It's not whether you can calculate returns, it's whether you can control your reaction. When the storm hits. Can you stay the course when your vision looks like madness? Can you invest in yourself when the world bets against you? Can you move forward in silence while others mock, doubt, or ignore? The men who built empires didn't seek applause. They earned legacy. And legacy is built in shadows. Before the headlines. Before the recognition. Before the results. It's built when no one is watching. When it's just you, the work, and the voice in your head that says, "Keep going." That voice is your ally. That voice is your Rockefeller. That voice is the architect of your wealth. And that brings us to the next truth. Vision. Without vision, wealth is noise. Money becomes meaningless. Assets become distractions. Vision is what makes wealth better. It's not about the car. It's not about the watch. It's not even about the billions. It's about what those billions can build, not just in the world, but in you. Rockefeller's fortune built universities, medical research, global change. It wasn't just numbers on a ledger. It was legacy carved into the spine of history. And that's what you're after. Not shallow riches, but significance. Not fast gains, but eternal echoes. So what's your vision? What does your wealth fight? FOR? What does your empire stand upon? Who does it serve? And why does it matter? Because if you build without purpose, you'll crumble under pressure. But if your vision is forged in fire, nothing can stop you. Not the economy, not the critics, not even time. You become immortal not by living forever, but by building something. That does. And the only way to build that kind of wealth is to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a king. A king doesn't ask for more. He creates more. He doesn't look at price tags. He looks at value. He doesn't chase income. He builds infrastructure. And that is what wealth truly is. Infrastructure of thought. Infrastructure of belief. Infrastructure of action. Every move should be legacy. Every step should be empire. Every thought WEAPONIZED. This is the Rockefeller mindset, because empires aren't born in comfort. They're carved out of struggle, molded in the furnace of hard choices, and hammered into shape by vision, belief, and action. If you want to rise like Rockefeller, you must stop thinking like the world owes you something. It doesn't, and that's your greatest power, because when you expect nothing, you become dangerous. You stop waiting, and you start creating. The world bows to those who move with purpose, not those who scream the loudest, but those who move. In silence, with precision, with focus so sharp, it slices through every excuse. And if you want to lead, truly lead, then understand this. Leadership is not charisma. It's not charm. It's not the loud voice in the room. Leadership is ownership. Ownership of decisions. Ownership of outcomes. Ownership of everything that happens in your world. Rockefeller didn't blame the market. He didn't blame politicians. He didn't blame the competition. He adjusted. He adapted. He outthought, outplanned, out-executed everyone around him. That is leadership, not the title, not the followers, but the standard you hold, first for yourself, then for everyone you influence. And the standard must be non-negotiable. Because when you lower the bar for yourself, you teach the world how to treat you. But when you demand greatness from your time, your energy, your environment, the universe has no choice but to respond. That's what Florence Scovel Shinn meant when she said, "Your word is your wand. What you speak, you shape. What you believe, you attract. What you tolerate, you become. So speak like a builder. Think like a sovereign. Move like a commander of fate." This is not about hustle porn. This is not about grind culture. This is about alignment, aligning your thoughts, your habits, your vision, your money, and your mission into a single immovable force. Because scattered energy builds nothing. But focused force changes everything. It drills through steel. It cracks stone. It moves markets. And you are that force. If you choose to be. But you must stop playing checkers when the game is chess. Start thinking in decades, not days. Start investing in skills, not status. Start building assets that breathe, systems that earn while you sleep, teams that operate without your hand, ideas that scale beyond your body. Because Rockefeller didn't build a business. He built a machine, an organism that could survive lawsuits, depressions, and revolutions. That's the next law of indestructible wealth. Build machines, not traps. Most people build income traps, jobs they can't leave, businesses they can't sell, lifestyles they can't fund. But machines? Machines are scalable, repeatable, transferable. They move with or without you. They live beyond you. Think about what you're building. Can it operate without your presence? Can it scale without your burnout? Can it feed generations after you're gone? If not, it's not an empire. It's a cage, and you weren't born to live in cages. You were born to command kingdoms. So stop trading your time for pennies when you could be designing blueprints for wealth that moves like rivers, flowing, compounding, expanding across time. Remember, Rockefeller didn't sell oil. He sold efficiency. He didn't chase dollars. He chased dominion, total control over supply, refining, distribution. Every link in the chain he owned. That's the level of thinking you need. Not, how can I make more? But how can I own the chain? Not, what's the trend? But what's the foundation beneath it? Indestructible wealth doesn't ride waves. It builds a coastline. And the coastline is principle. Values that do not shake when markets collapse. Standards that do not fold under pressure. Habits that do not vanish in chaos. You need principles that are heavier than emotion, that carry you through storms, that anchor your mission when temptation screams and distractions dance like devils around your vision, because temptations will come. Distractions will multiply. The more you build, the louder the world becomes. But you must stay tuned to a different frequency. One the average man can't hear. The sound of inevitability, the rhythm of legacy, the quiet pulse of a man who knows. This is not just a life. It is a mission. And missions require resilience. Resilience is the bedrock beneath Rockefeller's empire. He was not spared from trial. He was not handed a golden path. He earned every inch by enduring what others escaped from. He was investigated, demonized, broken apart by courts, hated by papers, hunted by reformers, but he endured. Not through rage, but through calculation. Not by whining, but by winning the next move. And that's what you must remember. Resilience is not resistance. It is evolution. You don't stand still like a wall. You bend like a blade of grass. Flexible, but unbroken. You shift, adapt, evolve, and persist. Because the wealth you build will be tested. There will be downturns, betrayals, unexpected fires. But if your mind is built like stone, if your standards are bulletproof and your principles unshakable, you will rise again. Not in spite of the storm, but because of it. Because storms don't destroy the builder. They reveal him. They show you who you really are, what you really believe, what you're truly committed to. And if you rise from it, stronger, smarter, hungrier, then you've earned a title no school can grant. Titan. Because that's what Rockefeller became. Not just a businessman, not just a philanthropist, but a titan of wealth. Wealth not defined by dollars alone, but by structure, influence, and permanence. And you? You are next in line. If and only if you choose to carry the weight. Because this is not for everyone. This is not for the distracted, not for the excuse makers, not for the crowd. This is for the builder, the thinker, the sovereign man, the woman who refuses to kneel to mediocrity, the creator who sees an empire in a seed and plants it anyway. This is the Rockefeller mindset. This is the part where most turn back. Right here, where it gets heavy. Where the weight of the mission starts crushing the illusions of comfort. Where the dream becomes a duty. Where the man you used to be screams for mercy, and the man you must become whispers, more. This is where you decide who you are. Because if you want to build indestructible wealth, you must understand this. Final truth, you don't get rich. You become rich. It's not a thing you possess. It's a force you radiate. It's a byproduct of internal power, not just strategy, not just smarts, but identity. The greatest shift you will ever make is not in your bank account. It's in your mind. Until you see yourself as the creator of value, the architect of legacy, the sovereign of your domain, you will always bow to someone else's vision. You cannot build an empire from the inside of a cage. And most cages don't have bars. They have beliefs, invisible chains that whisper, you're not ready. You don't come from wealth. You don't know the right people. Who are you to think you can be great? Let me burn that lie for you now. You are the continuation of giants, the heir to every builder who ever faced the void and sighed, I will shape this world. Do you think Rockefeller had a perfect script to follow? No. He wrote it as he walked. He made his fortune by mastering 3 eternal truths: compounding, control, and clarity. Compounding, in value, in effort, in patience. He understood that wealth isn't built in sprints. It's built in layers. Each choice a brick. Each day a beam. Each year a cathedral under construction. Control, not of others, but of systems, of supply lines, of markets, of self. He didn't react, he designed. And clarity, the rarest of all powers. The ability to see with ruthless precision. What matters and what doesn't. To cut through noise like a sword. To aim, not wander. To simplify when others complicate. That is how you lead. That is how you build. That is how you command wealth to obey your will, because wealth follows clarity like a shadow. It flows where certainty lives. If you speak with doubt, it hides. If you move with conviction, it arrives. Not all at once, but gradually. And then, suddenly, like a tide that can no longer be held back. And when it comes, don't shrink. Don't apologize. Don't flinch. Stand tall. You earned it. Every early morning, every lonely sacrifice, every decision to read when others slept, to build when others partied, to focus when others flailed. You traded distraction for destiny. And now the results are catching up. Let them. Let the world see what it looks like when a human being commits without compromise. Let them witness the power of vision unchained, of belief unleashed, of strategy embodied. You are not born to blend. You were born to break patterns. To be the first in your bloodline to build a dynasty. To be the turning point. To be the storm the silence was waiting for. They will call it talent. They will say you got lucky. They won't understand what it took. They never do. Let them talk. You've got empires to build, because this is the way. Of the few, the rare, the bold, the builders of indestructible wealth. And you are no longer part of the crowd. You've stepped into the forge. You've faced the fire. You've chosen the hard road, the sharp blade, the long game. And from this moment on, you do not chase money. You attract it. You do not beg for opportunity. You create it. You do not wait for permission. You command with vision, because you are the system now. The Rockefeller mindset is alive in you. And through you, a new empire will rise, not just of gold, but of greatness. Not just of profit, but of purpose. So walk tall. Build relentlessly, and never forget, the wealth is not the goal. You are. Make yourself indestructible, and the world will kneel.